what we'll be going through, and is about, as we've always said, we really, our goal is not just to present knowledge, but our goal is to help you make a fundamental shift in the way you think about health, the way you think about your mind, the way you think about your body, and hopefully spur you to make the right decisions and take the right actions. Not those huge, humongous steps that some people talk about, but those simple day-to-day steps that many of us may know about, but we just don't have the wisdom and knowledge to implement them. And that's what we're going to be doing with this. We're going to be trying to show you how these things work on a step-by-step basis, and that's me right here. I'm just going to quickly give you a quick background of myself and where we've come from. And obviously, I have a very, very varied background. I was in the Army. I was in medical practice. I treated cancer patients. That was really where I wouldn't call it an epiphany, but I would call it a growing realization of the things that I felt needed to be done, and I felt I could play a part in making it happen. I'm also very interested in sports, racquetball especially, and I love to speak. I love to share information with other people. I remember one day I think I was applying for a job, and someone looked through my resume and saw all these varied areas that I've been involved in, and after a long pause, he looked up and says, "Well, the only thing that this tells me is that you just can't hold a job." I'm like, right, whatever, no brownie points for you, that's for sure. Anyway, during my time as a medical student, I obviously loved working with patients. I mean, I loved helping people, but I realized that my interests were more with how the body worked. I preferred the pre-clinical classes to the clinical classes because it all talked about the body's potential to work, the body's potential to heal itself. But when we got into the clinical aspect of medicine, it was all about disease. It seemed that the focus was way too much on disease, and that shouldn't be surprising. I mean, that's what doctors study, right? We're there to study disease and treat disease, so our focus is on disease. And somehow, that did never really resonated with me as much. And I guess absolutely nothing wrong with it, but I guess everybody just has his or her different paths in life. And so even though I love to help people and I love to work with helping people overcome their disease, I realized, especially working as a doctor, as a cancer doctor specifically, I realized that if we could focus on not just on the disease, but also on the human body's capacity to heal, the human body's capacity to work, and give that body what we know it needs to heal itself, our medications, our treatments, everything would work better. And it just didn't seem like I was finding the answers to that. I looked everywhere for people who could teach me how to do that. I never really found it. I decided to come over to the United States, and that was about 8 years ago, and I began to look for the answers myself. Again, we are not against doctors in any way. Now, one of my heroes, as a matter of fact, my number one hero outside the Bible is Winston Churchill, and as you all know, the fate of the free world hung on him for a very long time before the United States came in, and his focus always was on strength, on resolve, on resisting, on ensuring that people had hope and courage. And so he knew how to spark up that hope. He knew how to make people fight and be strong, even when there was no hope and no reason to do so. And here's a really good quote I liked from what someone noticed about him. Winston Churchill, in negotiating with the Soviets, observed that they respected only strength and resolve in their dealings with other nations. And as you and as we all know, the Soviet nations, the communist bloc was in many ways repressive and oppressive. And it took a stronger power, really, to overcome them. That was the only thing that brought the Berlin Wall down. Some strength from several areas, most especially being the economic front. The economic strength brought that down. But those were things I observed. And also, another hero of mine was Theodore Roosevelt. And he particularly was interesting to me because this was a man who preached the strenuous life, as he called it. But his hero was his father, and of course Abraham Lincoln. And his father was a very religious man, and his father always emphasized that Jesus Christ, and I believe in Jesus Christ, that Jesus Christ was a strong man, and Jesus Christ, we are to follow in Jesus' strength, not just I realize really in most churches and religious circles today, we tend to exalt weakness, and we keep talking about our weakness, and we're like, oh, let God help us, and we're all looking to God to help us in our weakness. But what TR was brought up to do was to focus on strength, on to build himself up, trusting in God, to be strong for himself, to be a man. And as we know, he's one of America's greatest presidents, at least. Rushmore, the Mount Rushmore attests to that. So he was a man of strength, and he preached the strenuous life, and he was strong not just in mentally and physically, but he was strong in, morally as well. And he, many of you who are from New York, he was one of the first people who brought the corruption, who faced corruption headlong. And so I began to look for ways to help to teach about this. My first approach was to churches, but unfortunately most of them were not ready to accept what I had to talk about. And so we began to look for avenues, and one of the avenues that came my way was to write a book on this. And this book actually jumped to number 19 on Amazon.com in sales. And so I did this because it was a simple way to get the word out about health being a large word, and I covered as much as possible: the economic, the emotional, the physical, the spiritual, all the things that affect our health. And somebody mentioned, one of the people who reviewed my book, this book by Dr. Ajibade is an example, it's an excellent example of such a tool, by Emil Mondoa, who also is a good friend of mine. We'll let you have the slides later on as well. Anyway, it was through that book that I came to know my very, very dear friend, Sherry, and she actually helped me set up the website for to sell the book. Then later on, the more we worked together, the more we saw that we had other things we were interested in. And I remember when I traveled to her home in California to visit her family, and you can't really see, it's a little blurry here, but she has a wonderful family. And I remember visiting her home and her office, and I saw many books that were books that on topics that I was interested in as well, like psychology and communication. I was like, wow, this is like somebody is a bosom friend of, this is somebody that we can relate to. And so we've been friends ever since. And I sometimes joke with people. I say, well, one of the reasons I have Sherry on is because people look at me, I'm a single man from a different country with a strange accent. But they look at Sherry, and she's got a family. She's got a husband who works in the Navy. And she's got wonderful kids. I mean, tell you what, that provides an air of respectability. And since most of our, like 70% of our ladies, 70% of our audience are ladies, that does kind of make
now
them
the truth comes out.
more trusting as well. But of course, that's not the only reason. That's far from the only reason. I joke about that a lot, but I am very, very grateful. Sherry and I have been through a lot. Anyway, we decided to form a company called Building Strength, and the goal, of course, was to present and provide a resource for people to obtain wisdom and guidance in matters of health, strength, and human effectiveness. This really is something I've been looking for. I mean, if I had this as a medical student, I know my practice and would have been a lot easier and a lot more interesting and fulfilling. So really, like I said, I've said several times in the past, we've made a lot of mistakes, and we are feeling our way as we go along. But so far, it's been a good, interesting experience, and we know that we are making a difference, and we are being a blessing. One of the other people who have been blessings to us, especially right from the very beginning, was Dr. Steve Summy, and he has helped us come in contact with, or brought some really good presenters for us. I mean, he was right there in the trenches helping us out, and using his name to bring people to help be on our webinar. So Steve, if you're out there, thank you very, very much. Also Dr. Marvin, of course, like as many of you know, He actually got Barry Sears on to help speak for us. So what I'm trying to say is, as we've gone along, people have been there for us. They've come to our aid, and they've been a tremendous blessing. And obviously, not one.
If we could make our own Mount Rushmore, and it would
Yeah.
have Dr. Sami, Dr. Marvin, and Bernie.
Bernie, exactly. All these people have been such great support, and without paying them anything, not paying ourselves anything much either. But it's been great, and like I said, next year will be fantastic. The question is why strength? Well, I've explained a little bit about it, but let me say a few more things. The strengths movement, probably some of you have heard about it. This is actually outside of medicine. This is actually, strengths movement is more like, it's a movement that I just began in probably 10, 15 years ago, at the turn of the century. When at the workplace especially, people began to see researchers. One of them, of course, is Martin Seligman. He's a psychologist, one of the leading psychologists in this country. He is the founder of the field of positive psychology. One of the reasons he founded this is because, well, a lot of psychology has to do with, disease, the mind not working right. So they're focused on fixing the problems in the mind. And his philosophy was, well, why don't we just focus on strengthening, making the mind more positive, on strengthening what is left. There's always something that's left that works okay, so why don't we focus on that? And he's focused on building and strengthening that aspect. Building strength. Now, where did I hear that from?
Great name.
Great name. Another person who also, he really focuses in the workplace. His name is Marcus Buckingham. Here he is right now. Baby face, but he was a researcher, a senior researcher with the Gallup organization, and they, like you know, do lots of polls and studies for the public and also for organizations. And one of the things he really discovered was that organizations were focused on repairing or fixing weaknesses, and his thought was, well, why don't we just focus on the strengths? Why don't we focus on the strengths of the employees, help strengthen their key gifts and their key talents, as opposed to fixing their weakness, which is the prevalent attitude in most organizations. And that book, Now Go Put Your Strengths to Work, is a really, really good book on that. So this is outside of medicine and outside of health where they begin to see that. And here's another really good example. The most successful book in NFL history is written by Tony Dungy, who was, of course, the first black coach to win a Super Bowl. By the way, the second black coach to win a Super Bowl was coached and mentored by him. The Colts have I think it's a 9-0 unbeaten record this season. Well, the head coach there, who took over from Tony Dungy, worked under Tony Dungy. And he is a man of extremely strong moral principles. And in fact, what he did with all his coaching staff was he organized Bible studies. He helped to focus on their family values. I mean, he focused on the players' family values and all those other things. So he looked at people not just from a playing or technical perspective, but from the value perspective. Because his view is, well, you're just going to be a player for how many years? 10 years max. After that, what happens with your life? And too many players they get bankrupt, they get ill, many of them commit suicide because they've got nothing else to live for. And he didn't want that to happen, and he focused on that. By the way, he is the only coach in history to have beaten all the teams in the NFL. All the teams in the NFL. That's right. So he's a man, quiet strength. By the way, when most NFL coaches scream and holler at their players, he doesn't. He never shouts. He never screams. When he gets mad, he speaks even softer. And yet, people said that would not work. But it is working. It worked for him, and he has a Super Bowl to prove it. So back to Marcus Buckingham, and he talked about, again, it was about the employees thing. And so we've talked about outside of the medical field. In the medical field now, yes, we're moving towards prevention, but prevention, even I have a problem with that, because when you think about prevention, you prevent what you know is coming. If there's something if it's something that you don't know is coming, well, how are you going to prevent against it? And a good example is the swine flu. Okay, we got vaccinations for the swine flu, and everybody's getting their vaccinations. Everybody's getting inoculated. Nothing against that. I have nothing against it at all. I think it's good for people to do what they feel they need to do to protect themselves. But here's the problem. The swine flu is just one strain of flu. There are other flu strains out there. Besides that, this one swine flu can easily mutate. And so the vaccine that has been prepared for this special kind of swine flu may no longer be effective against it because it mutates. So, and of course, Gordon Pedersen did a really good presentation on Tuesday as well. So, yes, it is important to do what you can do to protect yourself, but I say it's even more important to do what you can do to strengthen your body, strengthen your immune system specifically. And we talked about that in several of our webinars, especially the one called The Battle Within, which is understanding your immune system. So our philosophy is about strength. Another example I want to bring forth is about heart attacks. Well, we know, well, the two main things. Oh, you need to stop being weight. You need to lose weight, and you need to exercise and eat less. Well, here's what they found out. More than 50% of people who suffer heart attacks don't even have the usual risk factors. Strange. Huh? Well, what they're finding out is that, well, the top risk factors for heart attacks are, number one, job dissatisfaction, which is one reason most heart attacks happen Monday morning at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m., 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Most heart attacks happen that way, happen at that time. Why is that? Because most people hate their jobs, pretty much. The number two, of course, is low self-happiness rating. I mean, if you're not happy mentally, psychologically, emotionally, you're down, well, that obviously brings pressure upon your immune system, your endocrine system. Your body just doesn't work well if you're not happy. And so those are the two main things that they have found out are the top risk factors for heart attacks. Does it mean that weight, hypertension are not problems? Of course they are. But they found out that these are even much more of a problem. So I kind of like put this picture together, and I've been using this now for years. And the idea is, if you look at the two prevailing philosophies, one is about the natural approach, which is on the left side, and the other philosophy is about the medical approach. In other words, when I have a problem, when I have a disease, I go see the doctor, and the doctor takes care of the disease. Of course, the doctor hardly ever, and that's because we're not trained that way, focuses on strengthening or building or putting the good stuff in the body. The doctor mainly focuses on this part, and let me demonstrate that. I have this picture here, and you see these two prevailing philosophies. Many times there's a lot of distrust between the chiropractors and the medical doctors, between the medical doctors and the osteopaths, between the chiropractors and the nutritionists. I mean, it's well, not that much, but you see everyone is like sticking to his or her own turf. even among the medical professionals, the medical people think the surgeons are overly zealous, overly aggressive. The surgeons think the medical people are just too slow. They don't act quickly enough. And so everybody feels like his field is the best. But our philosophy has always been, well, why don't we just pick the best of each? Why don't we pick the parts that work and put them together into this, like we called it, the unifying theory of health. And so let's go back to these two pictures. And so you see the natural approach and the medical approach. Okay, I'm going to show you the first slide. I hope it works. So you see medication. The person has a disease, and so he goes to the doctor, and then they use medication, they use radiation, sometimes for cancer, and they treat the disease. And you see the mountain has been dismantled to somewhat. But what are those other colored mountains in the background? What are those other mountains there?
Side effects.
Exactly, side effects. And what do doctors do with side effects?
More drugs.
Exactly, more drugs to deal with the other side effects. And so you see many people end up taking 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 drugs. I remember I went to speak at a retirement home recently, and the lady, she was so impressed with my presentation, but she comes up and she says, I have not slept well more than 2 hours a night for years. As a matter of fact, she said all her life she had never slept more than 2 hours a night. And her doctors just keep piling drugs on her, and she just doesn't know what to do. And then she asked me if I had to practice. Well, no, I don't. So I guess she wanted me to give her instructions about what to do. Of course not. I'm not going to tell you to disobey your doctor, but I can suggest that you begin to, I can begin to coach you in what you need to do to, well, build strength. So let's go to the other slide. The other thing that we fail to see is that even as the treatment is taking place and side effects are happening, you can see that the drugs are also affecting the physical body. A typical example, again, is with heart attack or heart disease. Cholesterol drugs, some very powerful cholesterol drugs, they reduce the cholesterol, but at the same time, they remove a vital nutrient in the body called coenzyme 10, CoQ10 for short. That is extremely important for muscle strength, and of course the heart is a muscle. And what you have is that while the cholesterol is being lowered, well, the heart is being weakened because of the effect of the drugs. And so what you're doing, and that's just one example, but again, because drugs are toxins by definition, you are going to intoxicate and damage your body somewhat. Question: why don't we, at the same time we're treating our patients with drugs, why don't we also inform them of what they're going to need that will not interfere with the drugs work, but it will help strengthen the body so that even the drugs work better, and so they need less drugs or fewer drugs. And that is that doable? Absolutely, absolutely. Nutrition can work in tandem with conventional treatment, and that's one of the things that we really try to emphasize in our treatments. And I always say this: doctors are among the true heroes of society, and I'm not just trying to blow sunshine. I truly mean it. But if your only source of health information is your doctor, you're in serious trouble, very serious trouble, and too many people are making the mistake. They hear about the new nutritional supplement or nutritional approach, and the first person they go and see is their doctor. Well, guess what? We have not been trained much in nutrition. As a matter of fact, we have been trained to distrust nutritional supplementation. And so if you approach your doctor saying, what do you think about this? Well, because he wants to be on the careful side and because some nutritional supplements have caused more harm than good, he's going to say, what? Stay off it. So you're going to have to need to do some studies on your own. Most people are smart. They just don't want to take that responsibility. And that's one of the things we hope to do with our webinars, to help impress upon you the importance of taking responsibility. And that includes doing the research for yourself, finding out things for yourself, asking questions. And as many of you know, we have made ourselves available to you. And when you have questions that we can't answer, we usually pass them on to the right person, and he gets back with you. That is what we are here for. Let's talk about what happens when we focus on the human body, focus on the body's ability to be strong. You see that the mountain grows stronger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Well, how does that affect the disease? Well, obviously the answer is straightforward. If the healthier you are, even if you have a disease process going on, your body can begin to take care of the disease process. Does it take care of it completely? Maybe not, but it helps the drugs to work better, which is what we've been trying to say all along. So the question is, where do we start? Where do we start building strength? I mean, you go to the average bookstore and there are tons of books out there on what to do, weight loss, Weight Watchers, depression, what to do to your guts, what you do for your teeth. I mean, it's everything. It's everywhere. It's easy to become confused. It's easy to become cynical about this whole field. So, and really, a typical example I bring up is when I was growing up, I was raised Catholic, and we were always told, well, you need to read the Bible and pray and blah 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 blah. And I was like, well, where do you start? You're going to read the whole book? Well, I tried that. Tried that several times to read the whole Bible from beginning to end. I always got stuck at, I think it was Leviticus, where it goes into all the rituals and the whole priesthood garments and all the things that they need to do. Fell asleep every time. But are there things that are more important, that stand out, that are more important? Absolutely. And I think that is true as well. If we can focus on the fundamentals, if we can focus on the most important things, and even the Bible emphasizes some things more than others. And so in health as well, there are some things that if you pay attention to, you will get 90% of the benefits that you need, 90% or even more. And so we want to focus on knowledge, the right kind of knowledge that will help us achieve that goal of health. And really, the World Health Organization attests to that. The reason people are sick and unhealthy is because of ignorance, lack of knowledge, and of course, complacency. Where do we start? Here are a couple of things that I was like, let me work on. Should we start building from the basic needs? Should we start with, okay, importance of air, or importance of water or shelter? That was, to me, that was a little boring. I was like, maybe that's not too important. I mean, that is important, but people are going to lose interest because they all know this, or they think they do. So I thought about some other things, like, okay, why don't we just start with genes. Let's start with the cell. Let's talk about what the cell needs, and hopefully we'll build up to what the body needs. Well, some people don't. That may be boring as well. So finally, I came up, well, with this statement based on my experience with people and with nutrition, especially with glyconutrients. I found out a lot about nutrition and health through my understanding of glyconutrients, because glyconutrients in a fantastic way helps to improve the intelligence of the body to do what it was designed to do in a fantastic way, in a way that I had never seen before. And so this statement, I love it. It says your body wants to be well. It wants to be healed. It really does. Even if you're hours away from death, your body never gives up. Now, you may give up mentally, but your body is always trying to survive. It's trying to survive. And it's all it needs are the right tools to help it to survive. And again, I saw that a lot with sugars and the right kind of nutrition. It will do everything within its power to attain that end. And so our goal was to find out how the body works, what it needs to work, and then prevent the toxins from getting to it. And so this was really when we first started. These three main headings were our focus. Just teaching people how the body works, the key things in how the body works. Because once people understand how the body works, it's going to be a lot easier for them to appreciate the value of nutrition, value of exercise, the value of thinking right, the value of having good social support, also the value of avoiding toxins. But it has to start with how the body works. And so we started with that. But again, what aspect are we going to be talking about and how the body works? I like to refer to this next slide as the central governing system of the human body. Okay, all together now. Central governing system. Okay. And here's what it entails. Your thoughts, your feelings. This is like a big term for your mind, conscious mind, your subconscious mind, even to some extent the spiritual aspect of who you are. All those things factor into what we term the mind. Your feelings, your thoughts play the most powerful effect on the rest of the organs in your body. We have about 12 systems in the human body. The master system, the master organ is the nervous system, represented by this pink thing called the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus controls most of the subconscious activities in the body. The nervous system, in turn, controls and exerts a lot of influence on the endocrine system, which of course stands for your hormones. We have close to 200 of them. Dr. Sears talked a little bit about hormones in our body as well. The next thing, the endocrine system controls the immune system, which accounts for about 25% of all the 60 plus trillion cells in the body. The immune system really is your number one defense against disease. And this applies to cancer as well. One of the problems with cancer treatment is that while cancer treatment is destroying the cancer cells, it is also destroying normal cells, especially the immune system, leaving the human body wide open to infection and attack. And so my whole thing has always been, well, while you're treating the cancer, well, why don't you also strengthen the body and strengthen the immune system? That is still not part of dogma with oncologists, unfortunately. Hopefully we'll be able to change more of that. Of course, this your body cells. So again, the whole process is your thoughts. If you're feeling good, you're gonna have good. If you have good thoughts, your nervous system works better, your endocrine system works better, which in turn helps your immune system to work better, and in turn affects your other 9 systems in the body. And so the focus has to be on these 3 systems, starting with the brain. Very few nutritional products actually that are out there actually really support brain function and as well as endocrine system function. A lot of it's about vitamins and minerals, and yes, vitamins and minerals help brain function as well, but that's not enough. Let me see if I can move on to the next slide. Okay, let's go on the next slide. Okay, next. All right. And so starting from the top, the mind, the emotions, we had no other than Dr. Siegel, Bernie Siegel, who has become a very dear friend of ours. I mean, he has been so supportive of what we're doing, and he has always been willing to help out. And he has done a wonderful presentation on pictures by his cancer patients. He asked his cancer patients and their families to draw pictures of themselves, and it's amazing what he was able to find out about what was going on in their minds and in their thoughts. But it's not just about cancer patients he has worked with. He has worked with troubled kids, troubled parents, and he has always found out that by helping to strengthen, help people deal with their inner fears, their inner concerns, that their bodies and their organ systems tend to work better, tend to help overcome, and they also, when he helps to help them straighten things out on the inside, he finds out that his treatment, his surgical treatment, worked a lot better. And he was a surgeon, of course. All right, so we have that taken, and obviously we have other presentations on the mind and the emotions. The next thing, of course, is the nervous system. And let's go on to the next slide. See, that's the problem with these things. Okay, the brain, nervous system. I did a webinar called The Human Brain, Your Master Control System. We actually have notes, and I think we have transcripts on that as well. The Human Brain, Your Master Control System. You really have to understand how your brain works, or what you need to strengthen your brain. Again, I think that's something that's really lacking in most of our nutritional approaches, and in many nutritional companies, they don't really focus on the brain. And if you're, I mean, tons. The reason the brain is so important, I mean, just a quick example, your brain is only 2% of your body weight, and yet it uses up 20% of your body's energy supply, your body's oxygen supply. Are you going to tell me that's not important? It's absolutely important. And we discuss a lot of things in that. One of our very main interests are with kids. We really want to help start kids off right. Kids have a tremendous ability to recover. The kids have a tremendous ability to be damaged at a tender age. So if we can help show parents what their kids need in terms of brain health, in terms of emotional support, in terms of using their brains properly, that will put them in good standing for the rest of their lives. And Miles Jones, who is an expert in those things, has come and done several webinars for us. And we have a transcript on saving our children's educational future as well as awakening your child. I don't think we have one on awakening your child's genius. Well, basically what we're trying to do is that we're trying to take you step by step through the resources that we have and how how they can be applied to your life or to the life of someone else that you know. The next step, the next slide showed something on the endocrine system. Dr. Green is a fabulous, one of my favorite teachers because he has such an interesting way of presenting information. And he talked about how important the endocrine system and the whole hormones are to the human body and to human function. And he has written a book called Perfect Balance. It's really easy to understand. If you can get it from Amazon.com, I strongly encourage you to get it, especially ladies, because he places a little bit more emphasis on ladies because that's what he is. He is a reproductive endocrinologist. The next slide, or the next aspect was the immune system. We had no other than Dr. Murray come speak to us about the immune system, immunology basics. And I tell you what, when you have a biochemistry professor emeritus talking about the immune system, you're going to have a lot of information, that's for sure. A lot of information. Now, does that mean you're going to understand everything? You're going to understand everything? No.
Thank goodness for the pictures.
Thank goodness for the pictures. Well, he put a lot of information, but I also did, I think I did a presentation on the immune system as well, which kind of like broke things down. The immune system, we have found out, is extremely empowered by aloe, the healing plant. Dr. McInally, who discovered the active ingredient in the healing plants, the active ingredient in aloe, which is called ace-mannan. He found he came over to talk on 2 separate occasions on the science behind it, and he has a book out on that topic. He did a great job. Dr. John Zeng, we're trying to get him back on, but he spoke again about the immune system, how the immune system is modulated, and he talked about a certain kind of mushroom that helps to moderate the immune system or modulate the immune system. That mushroom, of course, has micronutrients as well. Dr. Sears, in terms, we're talking about the immune system, he is the master of inflammation. He's a guy who wrote the Zone books, beginning with the anti-inflammation zone. That is another very, very interesting, powerful presentation that he made, and that is available on our site. And you can see here that we are trying to cover the basic facts that the average person needs to understand about the 12 systems. I can see really we've kind of like, most of these I did myself in my presentation along with Sherry. And again, the idea was to make it a simple, lots of pictures. I mean, I use like 80 to 100 slides and pictures when I'm doing my presentation because we want people, especially lay people, who have never been exposed to these things, we want them to be able to grasp these things as much as possible. Let's see, what else do we have? We have, okay, let me go on to the next slide. Like I said, I spoke about the digestive system. Now, Dr. Coolish, who has been on our webinars, who's going to be on next week, one of the things he said, and he's a brilliant scientist, he said probably the two main things that people need to focus on in health are, well, the teeth and the gut. Well, the second, why the gut? Well, the gut has over 70% of the immune system residing in it. 70% of the immune system is in your gut. Now, does that make it important? Absolutely. And yet, many of us have abused drugs and alcohol and antibiotics from childhood, which has destroyed a lot of our immune systems. A lot of the good bacteria in our gut help to support our immune systems. And so he does a lot of teaching about that. And of course, the teeth as well. And I'm going to show you a slide by Dr. Luna, who has been able to find out and show that there are conditions in your cardiovascular system, your nervous system, that actually start in the teeth. So very, very important. And I covered that in the digestive system. The cardiovascular system, of course, is very, very important. And these two, Dr. Harry is another favorite of ours. He's just a darn good presenter. Yes, he talks about a specific nutritional product, but hey, he also provides some very, very fascinating information as well. And so he's going to be on, I think, in 2 weeks from now. Of course, Dr. Steve is right there next to him. Dental health. and Dr. Luna. Now, this guy may have the look of a baby face, but tell you what, he's no slouch at all. Cambridge University, Cambridge, yeah, it's Cambridge itself, announced that Dr. Luna was among the top medical scientists in the world in 2005. I know he doesn't look it, but he did a fantastic presentation on how things like heart attack, strokes could be related to mercury poisoning. And he's going to be back again to talk about more about how conditions in your teeth can cause other conditions in your body. Bone health has something we're very interested in as we age. And Dr. Cates, who is one of the top researchers in the world in that category, and he has a database that he claims is second to none of the relationship between nutrition and bone health. Nutrition and bone health and osteoporosis or whatever. And he gave some really, really good information on that. That's also available on the site. But I just wanted to mention this as well. Now, Dr. Cates focuses on nutrition as a means to helping your bones be stronger. But the truth is, bone health is not just influenced by nutrition. There are several things involved in it. And of course, that includes hormones, vitamin and mineral profile, especially vitamin D and calcium. Your level of exposure to sunlight. I come from a country in which we've seen some really bad cases of rickets because some kids were just not exposed to sunlight. Exercise can determine your bone health, the pH of your blood, inflammation. Dr. Sears, your thoughts. Did you know that clinical depression or chronic depression can cause osteoporosis?
Mm.
People don't even realize that. But they've been able to actually do the research and find that out. And one of the ways it causes osteoporosis is that it releases, depression is this form of stress. Stress releases stress hormones, especially called cortisol. Cortisol is one of the key stress hormones which should not be in your body for too long. At least it shouldn't be in high levels for too long. Well, depression causes high levels of osteoporosis to be in your body over a long period of time. And when that happens, it causes damage to things including the immune system, including your brain cells, especially where memory is concerned. And also it causes damage to the bone repairing cells in your body. You don't want to mess with depression. You want to do things that will help to take care of it as quickly as possible. Your words also play a key part in bone health. Your words play a key part in everything. We did a presentation on words as well. Speaking about the skeletal system, you cannot speak about the skeletal system without paying attention to chiropractic. And I had to learn this the hard way. When I had a serious racquetball injury, I had to go to the chiropractors, and they helped to put me back together. So ever since, I've had a tremendous respect for the chiropractic. Now, Dr. Sami and Bruce Goldsmith did a great presentation, visual presentation, showing lots of animated slides, showing just how the spine, and remember the spine and the skull house your nervous system, which is the most important system in your body. Your spine and your skull house the most important system in your body. So if your spine isn't working well, your spine is not structured or not in alignment, it will affect your nervous system adversely. So it's very, very important that you give attention to that as well. And that's why we had them come in, so you can see that is important. The other aspect of skeletal system, of course, are your feet. What are feet other than things to walk with, right? But again, it's amazing what foot problems can do to you. Foot problems can actually affect the spine, this curvature of your spine. If you're not walking properly, if your feet are misaligned, or if there's something wrong with your feet or your shoes or things like that, things will go wrong. And my good friend Mark, the doctor of podiatric medicine, did an excellent presentation. Actually played racquetball with him again today. And I said, Mark, we need you to come back. And he's like, well, how much are you going to pay me? I'm like, nothing.
Tell him you'll let him win.
I'll let him win.
David, the surprised me when we had his presentation. I think it was one of the record number of people asking questions at the end. And I kept thinking, it's feet. Why are there so many questions? But I thought, well, probably because everybody has feet.
And everybody, I mean, we don't complain about them, but
Right.
most of us do have issues with our feet. But it's like, well, I mean, what's a foot problem when you've got a heart attack, for instance, or when you've got eye problems, or when you've got teeth problems? So it's like, well, I could deal with the problems with my feet. But when you have someone as smart as this guy, and he's a really smart guy, he was the head of the Diabetic Association in Oklahoma for 9 years in a row. And I mean, he explained it in such a way that they were like, oh yeah, that's right, I do have that problem. What do I need to do about it?
Right.
And so he did a great presentation again.
Well, I hope we get him back.
Well, I tell you what, I'll give you his phone number. He might be more amenable to a lady approaching him than a guy, especially a guy who beats him every time.
Yeah. Well, we'll do what we have to.
Whatever it takes, huh? I have in front of you a few other topics because it's hard to cover everything and just categorize everything. But you see here how the body works. I mean, right up there, number one, homeostasis, how the body keeps itself in balance. And so we did a topic called acid-base balance 1 and 2. We also spoke about stress, from stress to strength 1 and 2, the wisdom of the body, inflammation, the importance of antioxidants, understanding your immune system, balance and coordination. Obviously, that has more to do with chiropractic. How we gain weight, that's the concern that becomes more and more as we grow older. I'm beginning to, I've always had a six-pack, and I'm beginning to become used to see flab now right on my belly, and I'm like,
Down to a 4-pack?
Oh, or less. Now it's like just one keg now. And here's an interesting thing. I mean, in one of our talks, I think on the gastrointestinal system, or the gut, the digestive system, we explained why men have pot bellies and women have, well, heart full of hips and thighs. Has a lot to do with the endocrine system and your genes. But you're gonna have to get that to see the recording to understand how that works. Another aspect we wanted to focus on, and really we're going to be focused on that a lot more next year, is on the cell, specifically genes. Dr. Marvin is going to be back to speak about nutrigenomics, specifically how nutrition affects the genes, the expression and otherwise of genes. Nutrition, as Dr. Sears says, is a drug. You can actually use nutrition as a drug, as a weapon to influence the activity of genes. And I know this picture is possible, someday going to get me in trouble. I asked Laura to just put a picture of a lady because I had lots of pictures of silhouettes of men. So I was like, Laura, just put a picture of a lady, and she had to go put this picture up. Well, you can't please everybody. Another aspect we're talking about more and more is aging, and I just mentioned that a little bit. But these are the 4 things that I've seen that seem to influence aging the most. Free radical damage, and that's why we had a talk on antioxidants, silent inflammation. We've had Barry Sears on insulin resistance, and we talked about that in weight loss and fat. The older you get, the more resistant you become to insulin. The problem with insulin is that it is not just about glucose metabolism. Insulin is not just to drive glucose into the cells. And that's all most doctors, unfortunately, think about in terms of insulin. If people are insulin resistant, that causes the buildup of fat. It causes, insulin is like a master hormone. So it causes a lot of other things to go wrong in the body if insulin is allowed to accumulate. Most times we just think about glucose. Oh no, we must keep our glucose levels down, and so we pile insulin there to keep the glucose levels down. Now the problem again with insulin is that once insulin reaches a certain level, it causes a derangement of several body systems. And Dr. Sears again mentioned that people who are diabetic, one of the reasons, especially type 2 diabetics, they have a lot of insulin in their body. It's not like they lack it. They have large amounts of insulin in their bodies. And that insulin is one of the reasons why people who are diabetic are 2 to 4 times more likely to have heart attacks or strokes, because of the excessive amounts of insulin causing damage to the nervous system and to the heart. We mentioned the acid-base balance. Increasing acidity is a problem that happens as we age. Dr. Marvin did an excellent job on longevity and anti-aging. He did a study on cultures around the world that are known for their longevity, and he brought out the key principles that these cultures had that most Western cultures do not. Okay, we've spoken about how our bodies work, and again, we're continually building upon that, but that again is the most important aspect that we want people to know and to appreciate. The next thing is what our bodies need to function. Obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is nutrition, and that is true, but nutrition is also a very large word. And I like this quote by Elson Hass. Well, nutrition is not just about what you put in your mouth. It's all of your sense organs, and we have 5 of them, have their food, which helps to nourish and comfort them. The eyes eat light and color. Ears live on sounds. The nose thrives on smells. The heart absorbs feelings, and the skin sunlight for vitamin D, don't forget. And all of your cells and organs breathe and need good, clean air to live. So much of your health is in your own hands. Learn to nourish yourself. And we had Dr. Haas on our program as well. So when you're thinking about nutrition, please think in a larger perspective. Obviously, the key things with nutrition are the 7 food groups, and we're going to get to that in a minute. We also want to add good food, exercise, social support, new things. Your body, your brain especially, was meant to have challenges, to have variety. The same old, day in, day out can cause problems. Here's another great quote. The human body heals itself, and proper nutrition provides the resources needed to accomplish that task. None other than Roger Williams, the man who discovered vitamin B5, the man who named folic acid. Folic acid is what every pregnant woman by law, well, I don't know, but it's recommended by the Medical Association, I believe, that every pregnant woman should have folic acid to prevent birth defects in her baby. Well, here's the man who named it. So I would say this is a pretty valid statement coming from such a giant in the field. But think about it. Our bodies are constantly being bombarded from the inside and from the outside. From the inside, we've got free radical damage. It's estimated that over your nucleus, your cells receive over 10,000 hits every hour, or is it day? I'm not sure. But that's a lot, 10,000 hits by free radical damage. And free radicals are things that your cell, it's kind of like an engine. Your car engine burns fuel. It gives off waste products through the exhaust pipe. In a similar way, your cell is an engine. It burns fuel, in this case glucose, to produce energy. Well, the waste products include free radicals. Your body has to have a way to neutralize those waste products, those free radicals, or excrete them. The fact is, most of us are not even taking enough antioxidants, which neutralize free radicals. We are not taking enough antioxidants to do that, and that's why, to a very large extent, people grow old, the skins become wrinkled and damaged, cells begin to fade and die faster than they should. And the organ that we are most concerned with, again, is the brain. The brain is extremely susceptible to damage. Those cells are very, very, very sensitive. And free radical damage is one of the leading causes of those neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease. Those things can be avoided with good by flooding, and I like to use the word flooding your system with antioxidants early, consistently. And you've just got to get used to it. And I was speaking at a retirement home, and they were just looking at me like I was someone from Mars, because most people are just not used to spending money and taking nutritional supplements. Yes, they're used to taking drugs, but they're just not used to taking nutritional supplements on a daily basis. You've got to make that change. Optimum nutrition is the medicine of tomorrow, the medicine of tomorrow. And Linus Pauling, 48 PhDs, 2 unshared Nobel Prizes. Hard to disagree with that. Okay, so back to our master control system. The master control system has to be nourished and fed with good food as well. So speaking about the human brain, you've got to give it the right food. Dr. Owens did an excellent presentation on nutrition on the brain. I always love her presentation. She is so good when it comes to research. She is so thorough, and she has all her facts down. I mean, this is someone who was triple board certified, pediatrics, intensive, I think emergency care and general surgery. And this is a really smart woman. And yet, she's also open to the other avenues, the other aspects of health, the complementary medicine, or otherwise alternative medicine. She's open to all those things. So when you have that kind of brain power looking at issues like nutrition, you know she's going to do a good job. And that's what she did. So she's, I think, do we have a DVD on her, Sherry?
I think so.
Yeah.
And we love her Southern accent.
We love it, and yeah, I do especially. I'm trying to get her back to do, and she hasn't answered me. I guess she's tired of me bugging her all the time, but I want to stay with it. I'm trying to have her to do nutrition in childhood from conception to 18 years of age.
That'd be good.
That would be great. The changing nutritional needs of the child from conception, and they change. It's not the same thing they need. By the way, if you're pregnant, you need to take lots of fatty acids, omega-3, from a good reputable source, because omega-3s help that child's brain develop well. I mean, there's a lot of research that proves that. And I'm not going to charge you guys anything extra for that. That's free of charge. Just going to throw that in. All right, here's another nutritional product that I was extremely impressed with, and Ken Sabo did a great presentation on that, and I've been using it ever since. NeuroBright is a combination of several different brain foods, and really, I tell you, I've not seen such great results in most other things. So this is one of the few nutritional products out there that really help to support the brain, specifically, tailored to the brain. Great stuff. All right, here's just a compendium of all the main nutritional needs, and there are about 7. We also added at the bottom antioxidants, fiber for the guts. Fiber is what helps to clean and nourish and help the food pass through and keep the gut healthy. And Sherry, why do we need to keep the gut healthy again?
It's like your second brain.
That's right. It's like your second brain, and it also has 70 to 80% of your immune system as well. So if your gut is loaded with toxins, well, your immune system isn't going to work well, and your gut, which is the second brain, like Sherry says, will not work well as well. So very, very important to have foods that contain a high level of fiber. We know cultures around the world have that take large amounts of fiber. We're talking about 100 grams a day. And in our culture over here, we take less than 15 grams. And in cultures that consume large amounts of fiber, they really enjoy wonderful health benefits, and they don't fall prey to the kind of diseases and conditions that many of our people in this country and in the Western world fall prey to because of the fiber content in their diet. Sherry, how are people doing? Is my voice coming out loud enough? Any complaints?
Doing great.
Okay, good. Enzymes, very, very important. Now, Gordon Pedersen spoke about probiotics, which are probiotics are actually the good bacteria and lactobacillus. I think that's what he mentioned more than anything. He said, I was surprised to hear him say this. I didn't think they were that important. But Gordon said that probiotics are one of the most, or his favorite nutritional supplements. Now, they're not really nutritional supplements, but because they are actually live bacteria that you put into your gut. But they are, he said, they're extremely, extremely important. And when you think about this, some scientists claim that you lose, like, your digestive system begins to slow down when you get to be 13 and 14 years of age, and it continues to slow down for the rest of your life. So if your digestive system is slowing down, well, it means you're not absorbing foods optimally anymore, and you're not taking, and sometimes other foods may stay longer in the gut. So it's very important to put good bacteria in your gut. Dr. Murray did an excellent job on fundamentals of nutrition again. And again, he is a lot more technical because of obviously he's a biochemistry professor emeritus. Hello. Doesn't get much better than that. But I remember I was teaching at a college, and I gave one of the students his DVD. Oh, I think she watched it. Yeah, his DVD, and she went, and though she didn't know much about nutrition, she was like, she learned a lot from it. So there's a lot to learn from it, and you just need to sit down and really think about it. Dr. Beckler, Benjamin, another baby face, but very, very smart guy as well. I was really impressed with his presentations. He's the chief science officer of a company called Eneva, but he did a great presentation on omega-3 fatty acids, which is one of the 7. All right. Other than the 7 nutritional food groups, we also wanted to also focus on the superfoods, the foods that have this super health benefits. And so we've been trying to get. I know I tried acai berry. I know Mononfi. I tried to get someone from the chief science officer there to come and talk about the acai berry, because I mean there's been a lot of talk about the acai berry. It does have some great qualities to it. So I was trying to find someone who could talk about that. The goji, of course, Tahitian noni, aloe. We've had Dr. McInally speak about aloe, spirulina. We've had Kent Sabbats. That, by the way, that webinar is free for everyone. So if you want to watch it, just let us know. He did an excellent job on the history of spirulina. Mangosteen, reishi, red mushroom. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. This is Agaricus blazei is another powerful mushroom that has some tremendous immune system boosters, other mushrooms, blah, blah, blah. So we're also looking at the superfoods. That's Ken's picture, and he did, again, an excellent job on spirulina. John Zank spoke about the South American mushroom called Agaricus blazei, which is extremely powerful to stimulate the immune system. While we're talking about what the body needs, you see, you just can't neglect the spiritual needs, because the spiritual needs are locked into the body needs, and the body needs are tied to the spiritual needs. If you say, and I don't know why anybody should say such a thing, but if you say the spiritual is not important, or we're just physical, my goodness, how can you say that in this day and age? That's one of the most ignorant, nonsensical statements that can be made, and that's just me. I mean, you can have a different feeling about that, but really, the spiritual aspect is so important. And here's a quote that I like too, by one of America's first female physicians. Medication alone is not to be relied on. In one half of the cases, medicine is not needed or is worse than useless. Now, we are not against doctors. Remember that. Obedience to spiritual and physical laws, hygiene of the body, and hygiene of the spirit is the surest warrant for health and happiness. Hygiene of the body and hygiene of the spirit. How are you going to know how to keep your spirit clean and healthy if you don't recognize, first of all, that you have a spirit, or that you are a spirit, really, in a physical body? How are you going to do it? How are you going to strengthen your spirit? if you don't even realize that the spirit is the most important aspect of who you are. And so we have gone out to try and find researchers and experts who can talk and speak to this topic. And one of the best in the world is Dr. Koenig. And he did an excellent presentation for 2 hours, 2-hour presentation on understanding the relationships between religion, spirituality, and health. And the DVDs are available. Oh my goodness! I mean, I don't know why everybody would want to understand this aspect. This is so important. This is who we are. Mark Waldman did a wonderful presentation as well last week, and he is recognized. He and his partner Andrew Newberg, who is an MD, are recognized by Time Magazine and other authorities as the leading researchers in the effects of spirituality on the brain. The effects of spirituality on the brain. He's going to be back next year, by the way, in January to do more talk, do another class for us. How God changes your brain. He did a good presentation on that. We must understand, folks, that in us there's a spiritual need, and I think uppermost of all spiritual needs is the need for a sense of purpose, the need for direction, the need to understand why we were placed on this earth, what we are here on this earth for. And of course, one of the reasons we are here on this earth is to be a blessing, to use our gifts and our talents to serve other people. But how are you going to do that if you don't realize that there is a spiritual aspect of you, who you are? I just don't know. Okay. All right, we've spoken about the spiritual aspect. Let's go to the threats to our health. Remember, there are 3 main things we focus on: how our bodies and minds work, what our bodies need to function, and what the things that are out there that can threaten our body's health. And this is something, unfortunately, not too many people really talk about either, or don't pay enough attention to. When you're talking about threats or toxins, we're not just talking about 1 or 2 categories. Even this picture you're looking at doesn't contain all the different dimensions. Because I was thinking about mesothelioma that is caused by those particles, asbestos, for instance, asbestosis. There are particles which are generally harmless, but if they accumulate in your lungs, can cause disease. So those can be toxins on their own. But anyway, this kind of like covers most of it. Categories. Category-wise, we're talking about chemical toxins, heavy metals, biological agents, radiation, and of course emotional stress, free radical damage from the inside, as well as other things. So to keep this body healthy, you just can't just pick one and say, well, let's hopefully the other things will take care of themselves. No. You've got to address everything. And the more you're open to information about this, the better it'll be, or the better chance you will have of keeping your body healthy. Toxin-wise, Dr. Siegel did a great toxin specifically with regards to emotional toxins. And one of the things he brought out that I thought was very interesting, and I read this in his book, very, very interesting. He said, housewives, especially housewives who do not really enjoy being housewives. It's forced upon them, maybe because they have to take care of the kids, and the husband obviously does the work, and he's the breadwinner. But they want to be out there working. They want to be doing stuff, but because they have to take care of the home and the kids, such people who do not really enjoy being housewives, what they have found out is that such people have almost a twofold risk of having greater heart attacks, strokes, diabetes, and cancer than ladies who enjoy working outside the home. Now, let me be sure I'm communicating properly. If you're a housewife and you enjoy the housewife you enjoy the homework, taking care of kids and raising kids at home, you enjoy it. He's not referring to you. He's referring to those who do not, who feel that their careers, who want to be career women and let David stop from doing it because of circumstances. And one of the reasons for that obviously is could be resentment, could be depression, could be stress from being at home against really their best wishes. Now, here's an interesting thing that Dr. Longkey brought out. He said the same thing, that ladies who work at home are exposed, they have greater percentages of heart attacks or heart disease and strokes and cancer. But his reason, that's why it's very important, his reason was that because they're exposed to more chemicals. They're inhaling those chemicals, the toxins from the walls, from the cleaning agents, from the carpet, or when they have someone come and clean the house and they use all those chemicals, they're finding out that those chemicals, you're inhaling them and you're exposed to them day in, day out, can cause major problems in your body. So you combine these two people, what both people say, and that's why it's so important, folks. It's so important to look at things from several different perspectives and not just one. Several different perspectives and not just one. Does that kind of make sense, Sherry? What's going through your mind right now?
Well, that's just really good. I mean, I've heard you say that, but this is like a perfect example of that, of looking at it from two different angles.
Thank you. And Dr. Longkey did he did a masterful job on the whole thing. I mean, this is a man who is he's triple board certified, and he came and gave a wonderful discourse on all the different things that affect that are out there, and he talked about how you can prevent it. And he addressed things like massage therapy, even colon cleanse, hydrotherapy. He went through the gamut of everything. I was like, this is the most complete that I have ever seen. And of course, his friend and partner, business partner, Dr. Rick Deitch, who is the CEO of a pharmaceutical company, he did an excellent job on the science of detoxification. He focused on the detoxification itself using zeolites. And I tell you, I am so impressed with that technology. I am so impressed, and one of the reasons why I'm so impressed is because one of my very good friends, Linda, like you know, whom you know, Linda had headaches for years, and she had suspected that it was because of the fillings, the mercury fillings in her teeth, and she hadn't been able to get the teeth out. But she heard about the zeolites, and she began to use them, and she said within days the headaches just disappeared. That's because the mercury was being trapped and taken out, which had been by the zeolites, I believe. Because I mean, obviously that was the reason she took it in the first place, because she was like, this may be what I need to take care of the mercury. So if you have teeth that have mercury fillings in them, and you haven't been able to remove, go to the dentist, and that would be the first suggestion, to go back to the dentist to have those removed and replaced with something that is less toxic to the body, then this may be an option. Using zeolites to help remove heavy metals from your blood.
Dr. Longkey and Rick, don't they have a movie coming out, and they said they would come back and do a movie debut for us?
Oh, that would be great. That would be great. Yeah, I mean, Rick is a great presenter to himself. He's going to be here in December to speak about pain management, a non-toxic pain drug that has no side effects whatsoever, and that is made from the venom of cobra. Where these people get these things from, I have no idea. All right. Another form of toxin, of course, are the bacteria, the viruses, the bugs, the molds, fungi that are all over the place. And Gordon, again, did an excellent job. And I know I say this a lot, but Gordon is just an amazing, amazing speaker. And Tuesday, his slides didn't work with the system, and so he just did a question and answer session for almost 2 hours. Well, no, I think it's 1.5 hours. And people just stayed on asking different questions, and he did a great job with that. His presentation was not recorded, but Cindy, Dr. Eaton, did a similar presentation, and she works with Gordon a lot. She did a similar presentation, which she allowed us to record, and the DVDs and the transcripts of that presentation are available. Again, they're half off.
And we'll have everybody swear that they will not tell Cindy about that bad picture you have on that slide.
I know, that's terrible. She probably wouldn't forgive me, but hey. I tried to get her back on it. She was too busy, so she owes me. All right, here's another thing, an interesting thing. Now, Gordon, let me go back to Gordon. Gordon spoke about teeth problems, bacterial problems, that one of the researchers it's been published in the dental journals, that over 80% of all heart disease, think about this, folks, you would never have guessed, but over 80% of all heart disease starts with a bacterial infection in the gums, in the teeth, in the mouth. 80% of heart disease. Mm. I couldn't believe it myself. I'd never heard that before. But they were able to prove that, and I was like, well, okay, where do you find it? He's like, well, it's not in most medical journals, but it's in dental journals. All right. Now, Edgar comes on and says something else. That's why, again, the importance of seeing things from different perspectives. They are both right, but because this is Edgar's focus, he says that a lot of heart problems and heart attacks is because of the mercury poisoning that is in the teeth. So you put them together and you see one is bacterial and the other one is due to heavy metal toxicity. Well, so what do? Well, you protect yourself from both. Take advantage of the technologies that are out there. Once you know about them, and once you know about the threats that are out there of the toxins, then I think it behooves you to take advantage of what is out there to help protect yourself. In other words, use zeolites as well as use the silver technology to help keep yourself from certain conditions, certain bacterial conditions, certain heavy metal toxicity conditions. And as a matter of fact, Sherry, Gordon actually said that they're making a product that combines the zeolites and the silver together in one.
Oh, that'd be great.
Isn't that smart?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. And he said what Gordon says that that's going to be used especially in the guts, because what the zeolites do is that they trap the silver, so they keep the silver from being absorbed or excreted. So it traps the silver and keeps it in the gut, so it stays in the gut longer. And because it stays in the gut longer, it can destroy harmful bacteria more effectively.
Mm. Wow,
isn't that smart? I thought that was pretty smart. Okay, the other toxins that almost all of us are exposed to, is something that we don't think it's a toxin, but it sure is. It's sugar. Most of us are taking way too much sugar, and the statistics prove that we were taking the average person was taking 5 pounds a year. Now it's 150 pounds a year per person. I mean, sugar is in everything, from our drinks to our foods and all that. Is there something out there that can act as a replacement, as a substitute for sugar, that will not give us the harmful side effects, the harmful effects of sugar? Absolutely. And J.C. Spencer came and did an excellent presentation on trehalose. Trehalose is I think it's half as sweet as sugar, but there's a lot of research that show how trehalose not only is a substitute, but it has some tremendous nutritional value for the cell. It enables the cells to work better. It protects the cells better. So we're not just talking about a substitute, a sugar substitute. We're talking about a nutritionally powerful substance that can do good to your brain, to your nervous system, and to the cells of your body. And that's JC. JC really has done a lot of great, helped us out as well. The other toxin.
There's a link on our website too, David, still, for if anybody wants trehalose. There's always a link on our website where people can buy it on the homepage.
Yep, absolutely. Right there on our website. Trehalose is right there. You can always get some. The other thing, toxin that well, it's not really a toxin, but in some ways it is. It's coffee. There's an inordinate amount of coffee, that's caffeine that's being consumed in the form of coffee. And the research is out there that excessive amounts of coffee can derange your nervous system, can derange your endocrine system, especially, and other systems as well. So what we did was, well, is there healthy coffee out there? Is there a way you can eat your cake and have it? Is there a way to enjoy the benefits of coffee, but at the same time put good stuff in your body? Well, absolutely. And we got Dr. Paul to come and speak. Paul and Jeff Frick actually came to speak about coffee. And folks, I know some people looked at this. As a matter of fact, Sherry, someone, about this. Someone actually discontinued her membership because she was upset that Paul and Jeff were talking about their product and their company. And yes, they spoke about the science behind the Ganoderma, which is one of the superfoods, one of the most important herbs in China. But she was upset that it sounded like they were promoting their company. And yes, folks, we do walk a very fine line, and sometimes we tend to fall over on one side or the other. But if there's if we tend to err when it comes to giving people something, the knowledge that something is out there that can help them improve their health. And so while you may not like the way that it was presented, people who are addicted to coffee have been benefited by this. I've been using this for 5 years, so I know how good it is. I know I can't take it. I know there's nothing out there that can actually replace I know there's nothing out there in terms of regular coffee shops that can. I'm spending too much time on this, but I will say this, folks. This has been our number one selling DVD. We've sold more DVDs of this than any other DVD. And people have called us to thank us for introducing us to this coffee. So please, I understand some people may be upset about some of the presentations, but it's this typical the classical one man's trash is another man's treasure kind of thing. Some people really value what these presentations offer. Other people just say we're call us scum and call us all kinds of crazy things. But hey, we're helping people. Here's a man who discovered the ability. He discovered a way to mass produce the red mushroom and put it in coffee, and I love it. All right, we've spoken about toxins and physical toxins, but to me, really, folks, the greatest threat to health in our Western world, ignorance.
But that's fixable.
That's what?
It's fixable.
It is fixable, exactly. And what is one of the ways that can be fixed?
Education.
That's right. Through building strength webinars. Let's toot our horn. Okay. Dr. Dolan. I like to call her the enforcer. I like to call her the clinician's worst nightmare.
That's better than Wonder Woman.
As well as Wonder Woman. She is a really smart woman. Her whole focus is informed consent. She travels around the country educating healthcare professionals as well as the lay public on the importance of and the responsibility by law clinicians have to educate their patients on the benefits and risks of medications, procedures, diagnostic or therapeutic. There are a lot of things that doctors by law are mandated to do, but again, doctors are so busy. The time they have with the patients is so limited. So she's trying to help doctors do that more effectively. But you can't wait until the doctors tell you everything. You need to be the one to ask the right questions, and you need to be the one, and really you can't ask the right questions unless you are armed with the right knowledge, and that's what we do with the webinars. And she has done some excellent presentations, and really all our presenters are excellent, really. Well, most of them, almost all of them. Excuse me. But she's done quite a few interesting topics. Again, if your only source of health information is your doctor, you're in big trouble. All right, so we've spoken about toxins, spoken about threats, some other topics we want to try and cover. I mean, we've covered some to some extent, but we're going to cover more and more in the years to come. Children's health and development, very, very important. Women's health, topics unique to men, pain problems. We've had a few people talk about pain, anti-aging, wound healing, depression, wound care. The children's aspect, where we really want to put a lot of our resources behind helping people find the best way to give their kids the best chance in life. And Dr. Jones is one of the people who are really helping us to do that. John Hall did an excellent presentation on in wound care. Actually, he's a dentist, but they've come up with an aloe technology that works on the teeth and the gum especially, and reduces inflammation. It acts as an antibiotic. It acts as an analgesic as well. So many times doctors don't even need to use those numbing anesthetics that they inject into your gum. What I just showed you recently, what he's talking about, is very, very effective, and it's being used by many dentists as a replacement. All right. Remember we spoke about words being very important in bone health and really important in everything else? Well, I love this quote a lot too. It says, talk health, the dreary, never-changing tale of mortal maladies is worn and stale. You cannot charm or interest or please by harping on that minor chord, disease. Say you are well, or all is well with you, and God shall hear your words and make them true. I think it's to be regretted, really, that our teachers, our parents, our leaders, religious leaders, politicians have not given the attention, the amazing attention that is needed to this topic of spoken words specifically. Oh my goodness, if we only knew how our spoken words affect our physical bodies and our minds, we would change the way we speak. We would change the kind of talk we indulge in. And so that's one of the reasons why I did a preliminary talk on words and how they affect our health. I'm going to be doing more next year. Another topic of interest, quality of life, your rights, your choice, your opportunity. Lori Morris, she did a great presentation, and she's going to be back next week to speak about the health benefits of gratitude and giving. Sherry, have you contacted her about this? Did she call you back? Did you guys talk about anything?
Yes, if anybody knows Lori, tell her to call me back.
Okay. Yeah, Lori is a wonderful speaker. Okay, what happens? Well, we've spoken about, for the most part, we've spoken about what the body needs, how the body functions, the toxins we should avoid. But what happens when, well, the body just fails, it breaks down? Well, obviously that happens, that's what happens in disease. And so we're also getting speakers to address specific diseases. Now, we're not getting these speakers to tell you what you need, what medications you need to do, or whether you should choose surgery or not. Absolutely not. We would not be that presumptuous. Our focus is on helping you give your body, helping you know what to do to give your body the best chance of recovery during treatment and after treatment. You see, no, it doesn't matter what your doctor is doing. There are still needs that your body has that need to be addressed. And if all you're going to do is just wait for your doctor to tell you what to do, well, you're way behind the eight ball. I mean, you're just not in the game. God help you. Mm-hmm. Let your doctor take care of your disease. You take care of your health. They are not the same thing. Okay, Dr. Murray spoke about cancer, and here are those nasty-looking cells just multiplying. That's what cancer does. It just multiplies. Is cancer necessarily a death sentence? Of course not. But many times we feel it's such, and so that's why fear grips us. But if we had the knowledge to deal with, to give our bodies healthy stuff and to help our bodies fight the cancer while the doctor's taking care of it, trust me, I having trained in radiation oncology, I know the power of good medication to help either slow down the cancer or destroy the cancer. But at the same time, it also damages the cells in your body, and therefore you must become acquainted with the power of nutrition to help protect the cells in your body. And there are our slides going on. Okay, cardiovascular conditions. Again, Dr. Harry and Dr. Steve spoke about arginine. While your doctor is treating you, while you're doing whatever you need to do to regain health, remember that arginine is extremely important to help in repair of damage to blood vessels, the lining of blood vessels. It helps your heart work better. So while you're receiving treatment, you got to give your cardiovascular system what it needs. Speaking about cholesterol, high cholesterol, hormones, hot flashes, blah, 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 the things that happen to ladies when, well, they reach a certain stage in life. Dr. Coolidge did a presentation on that. And we just don't want to just stay with just disease and health problems. Well, we also want to talk about life as a whole. And I like to refer to the scope of what we want to accomplish with our webinars, our website. And trust me, folks, that website is nowhere near what it's meant to be. I mean, there are tons of stuff we want to add. We want to add health jokes. We want to add articles. We want to add videos to it. I mean, it's going to be transformed. We're just working on some minor tweaks and tweaks to get it done, fixed properly. By the way, if you're not a member and you're still thinking about it, just know this. By next year, January, the prices are going to almost double. They're going to almost double. Trust us. If I know we've been threatening to do that, it's for real this time. And really, the reason why I was saying this is because, I mean, $15 a month is such a great deal for what you get. I mean, do you have any idea how much you would have to pay for these things that we're supplying? And really, some of the things that we have on our sites are not anywhere else, because why? We actually, so these presentations were created specifically for us. I specifically asked these presenters, doctors, healthcare professionals to focus on this specific topic. Ask them to draw pictures. Ask them to create slides that focus on that particular topic. So if you think you're going to just go out and get these topics outside, think again. All right. I like to cover, like I said, the 7 laws of life: our words, our beliefs, our thoughts, what we put in our mouths, how we use our bodies. That would of course include exercise, drug use or abuse, your exercise, body movements, smoking or non-smoking, the people we associate with, the sort of work you do. So few people understand the importance of that. So few people understand that if you don't enjoy your work, like we said earlier on today, if you don't enjoy your work, that can cause your health to break down. And it talks, if you get all this right, if you really apply the 7 laws, well, you can be said to be walking in wisdom. Wisdom for daily living. Wisdom is organized life by Immanuel Kant. And a person who is really walking in wisdom is having his spirit, mind, and body strengthened on a daily basis. And that is that person who is truly living in health, which is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. How many people do you know who are like that, Sherry?
Not enough.
I know very few. It is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. I think that covers a lot, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. All right, I had a few more slides here. And again, folks, the question is, it's going to be up to you. You are not going to like everything we have on our site. We're covering a wide range of topics and interests because we want to cover everything to do with health. Some people have been very upset with us for promoting other nutritional companies, and they've left, and that's fine. It's going to be up to you. Again, our goal is not to make enemies of you, but to present the people of the world with the information, the best forms of information that are out there so that they can make the right decisions about their minds, what they do with their minds and their bodies. So in the final analysis, it's about you. It's about you taking intelligent action. It's about you taking responsibility and not waiting for someone to take responsibility for you. And when you realize that, well, it doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. This is your body. You're the one who has to live in this body. There are no replacements for this body. This is the one body you're going to have to live with. So why would you want to live in pain and suffering when there are answers? There are answers available. So you've got to do something. In other words, you've got to do something. And every small thing you do can take you from a 1 to the 10. Well, maybe not a 10, but maybe an 8. Because yes, our bodies are still going to break down anyway. But if you to take action, you have to grasp this fact that your body will recover if you give it the right tools. There's a quote-unquote life force in your body. There's a strength within that, given the right tools, your body will do what it needs to do. So I have about 5 points as we wind down, as we wrap this thing up. I have about 5 points that I really think you would do good, you would do well to pay attention to. Number one, obviously, there is discover and fulfill your reason for being here, for being in this world. And I know it's a lot easier said than done, but trust me, you will never really achieve your full potential if you're not doing something, that if you're not targeted, if you don't have a direction, if you're not doing a job or working or having doing things that you feel are using your strengths. I think the biblical verse says, where there is no direction or where there's no guidance, people fail, people perish, they get destroyed. Every management book, every self-development book starts with the most important thing, saying you've got to have a goal, you've got to have a target. Once you have a goal, once you have a target, the other things begin to work well. Nutrition, nutritional supplements, exercise. You become more consistent in doing those other things. So that's the most important thing. And we are working on that as well, having people fulfill their purpose. Next thing are the words. Watch your words. The next thing, commit to lifelong learning, but especially in things pertaining to health. And that's why we're making this available, this website, and what we're doing available. Take advantage of our membership discounts before we step it up. Be willing to change as new information presents itself, even if it challenges centuries-old beliefs. Be willing to change. That's probably that becomes more and more difficult for us to do that as we grow older, but it's possible. I'm going to give you a quick example just before I finish. This is a picture of the racquetball tournaments. I really hate to remember this because we the two people. That's me over here. That's Robbie, my partner, and he doesn't look like much a racquetball player, but he's one of the best racquetball players I have met. These two guys were against us, and we were up. Let's see, it's a game of three. We play 3 games. The match is 3 games. The first 2 are to 15, and if it's a tie, then you go to a tiebreaker to 11. The first game, we destroyed them. Now, these two went on to win the state championships. They are extremely good. Hey, by the way, Have you noticed that this guy only has one leg?
Oh.
So this is a prosthesis.
Wow.
Imagine that. If you know how fast and intense racquetball is, you know that is almost impossible for anybody to have one leg and play racquetball. And yet, he does. Which shows you that everything is possible. Anyway, they went on to win the state championships. But the first game, we destroyed them. We destroyed them 15-4. 15 games, 50, they scored less than 4 or 5 points. The second game, we were leading them by 12-8. But here's the problem. They kept on changing. They kept on adapting to us, and we kept on doing the same thing. We didn't shift our strategy. They did, and they just kept on learning kept on changing their games. Well, they figured out also that I was the weak link. I mean, Robbie, look how big he is. Well, Robbie is an excellent player, so they decided to hit the ball to me, and I blew it. Oh, that weekend I went into the deep depression. I tell you.
I remember.
Yeah, I went to bed for like the whole weekend. I mean, it's a good thing I had nutritional supplements to help keep the damage from being excessive. But that's the point. What I'm trying to say. Oh, okay, yeah. I want to kind of boast that I can play racquetball as well. But the point I'm trying to make, folks, is that change is extremely important. You have to be willing to make the change. You have to be willing to change, to do something different.
Glad you found to redeem the story, David.
Huh?
I'm glad you found a way to redeem the story.
Oh, you think I've redeemed it?
Well, yeah, because you found a positive use for the story.
Okay. Yeah, I was able to pull a lesson out of it. Okay, yeah, one lesson. All right, here's a book I wrote. I mentioned it at the beginning. Some of you probably missed it. But here's the book I wrote. This is probably where this whole story started. It covers everything on health. The spiritual, the mental, the physical, looks at things from different perspectives. It's like a journal. It's like a daily guide thing. It's simple for the layperson to read on a daily basis, and then there are places for note taking to answer questions. And I usually do not promote this. I've never promoted this on a webinar before. I don't think I have anyway. This is a lousy picture and lousy cover, I tell you. Really, I mean, Peter Biadish's hand is ugly. Look at that red inflamed finger or thumb. But anyway, it's something I would encourage you to start with. It's on Amazon.com. Do we have a link for this yet, Sherry?
No, not yet, because we don't have our books page up. But I think, too, I'll just throw this out here live on the webinar, because it's done in a journal kind of fashion that goes through daily, maybe we should see who would like to do it with, like we could do it with people through 2010 and even have like an online blog if people want to talk about it. Do it together.
That's a good idea. That's a very good idea. Well, you're going to...
We'll get back to you on that.
To champion that.
Watch for more information.
There you go.
If David's going to tell me it's my responsibility to get it done, so.
That's right. It's your responsibility to get it done. Absolutely. Okay. I think we're almost done. This is our goal: fullness of strength, spiritual, mental, and physical. I know. That picture looks corny, but hey, what else is new? Okay. I think we're done.
Okay. Well, there aren't really any questions. I'll just read you a couple of the comments that came in, and then we can call it a wrap. One person asked, what's your website and how do we purchase DVDs? It's buildingstrengthwebinars.com. It's at the top of the slide there. You can see that if you didn't know. And wanted to know about where to purchase DVDs on our website. There's a link. It says online store. You can find everything in there. And then a couple of comments that people left were, thank you so much for what you are doing. The webinars are awesome, and no one company has the best stuff, so it is good that you promote the whole truth. And then this is a lengthy comment, but I'll go ahead and read it. It says, Dr. David, I cannot understand who could people be upset, or why could people be upset at you for your extreme efforts to educate us and to open our blind spots. You give us the most varied and widest scope of how nutrition and medicine impact our health and life, as you intend to do, arming us with knowledge so that we can make the best choices available. I cannot express enough appreciation to you for what you and your team have given me. Those who do not appreciate the feast of knowledge you are providing us, let them feast on their own ignorance and I enjoy every minute of your presentation. Thank you so very much, and may God continue to give you the vision and strength to educate the ignorant.
Oh, wow.
So thank you.
Wow. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And of course, there's no way I could be doing this, or we could be doing this without Sherry. I mean, that's this. By the way, folks, this whole webinar thing was her idea. So if anything goes wrong, or if you don't like anything about it, it's your fault.
If anything goes right, it's David's fault. If anything that goes wrong, it's my fault.
That is correct.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us.
All right. Thanks, folks. See you next week.
Good night.
Night.